Welcome to Taste Buds. I'm Debra Eckerling, goal strategist, writer, and foodie. And today I'm speaking with Warren Rockmacher, the godfather of kosher barbecue. Welcome, Warren.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
What is it about barbecue that you love so much?
It's taking something and kosher in general, it's taking something uniquely American. It's something that our country is known for and being able to make it your own. Whether it's something as simple as just grilling hamburgers and hot dogs or elevating that, chicken, uh, brisket, all the big primal cuts of beef and doing that. That's what we love so much. And it's about food and it's about family and it's about eating at the end of the day. And nothing makes me happier than making food for family and friends. That's a joy I get. It really is.
Isn't that, though, what we love most about food? It's not just the eating, it's the sharing of it.
It's the sharing, it's the company, it's having people come over, gathering around the table, laughing, singing, telling stories. All of that is part of it. It goes back to, I think for me, back to my grandparents' table in Long Branch, New Jersey, and everybody gathered around the kitchen table. That was the center point of the house, and you sat around that table all day while my grandmother was making, or my aunts were making whatever they were making, and that was actually the center of the house. So having barbecue, it's the same thing. Everybody gathers around, and it's just a lot of fun to do, and people enjoy food and eating, and that's really what it's all about.
And so what is it about barbecue? It's the American part of it? Is it, or is it the outdoor bonding experience, or what?
Playing with fire, who get to play with fire, and different various meats, of course, and getting it to the way you want it. There's a bit of a craft to it. Even cooking hamburgers. Well, am I going to make a better hamburger than I did last time? Or is he going to make a better hamburger than me? What's he doing different? What are the spices that are being added into it to make that such a delicious hamburger or hot dog or chicken? Um, Brisket, whatever you're making, it's all about that, and enjoying the food at the end of the day is really what it's all about. But it's the craft. There is a craft to it. There's an art to it, and having fun while you're doing it, and that's what it's about. That's for me. That's what it's about anyway.
And before we get into the weeds of what people can do to make their barbecue better, let's address the kosher part of it. So define kosher barbecue, air quotes.
Kosher barbecue. It's barbecue started taking cuts of meat, the cuts of meat that nobody really wanted back in when people came to America. The brisket was the cut of meat that nobody wanted. So it was the last piece. It's very tough. You can't turn it into steaks. So it would became cholent on Shabbos. They would take it home. They would put it in a slow cooker, cook it long and slow, and that was the development of cholent. And and going back in American history, all the best cuts of beef were taken for the landowners, the plantation owners, the workers, the slaves. They were given the really bad cuts of meat, and that created that slow barbecue that created the brisket, or the pulled pork, the shoulder, the pork shoulder was not a cut that anybody wanted. So by cooking that low and slow and giving it smoke, it made it very tender and soft, and it created the best parts of the barbecue. And that's what's become it now. Now turn around and here we are. What's the most expensive cut of beef? It's the brisket, or the beef ribs that nobody wanted. Those are the things that, they take a long time to cook, but they're the best of the best that people want nowadays. And so that was the whole idea behind creating the whole kosher barbecue scene. You've got out there in California, Southern California, you've got Danny Goldblatt. And she's amazing. She does pop-up barbecue all over Southern California. She is the queen of kosher barbecue out there. We love Danny. She comes to Florida for our kosher barbecue competitions here. In and the way this has popped up, you've got in Cleveland one of the very, very best, Rabbi Mendel Siegel, and he has it's called Mendel's Backyard Barbecue, and he's in Shaker Heights, and now he's opened up a dairy restaurant as well, and now he's opening up a brewery. Then in New
Of
York,
course.
of course, then in New York you have Ari White, and he's Wandering Q. It's all over the country. I don't have a restaurant. I just do backyard. I do for family and friends. And of course, for our synagogue, Palm Beach Synagogue, we have a competition team and we go to kosher barbecue competitions around the country. Um, but we also have fun. We do things for our community as well and have that. And it's a great way of being able to feed a lot of people with something that everybody loves. I mean, who doesn't love brisket or chicken or we just did an event for Lag BaOmer where we had 250 people and we did the kosher version of pulled pork. We did pulled beef and we cooked it for 250 people. And it's the same thing. It takes, 12 to 14 hours to cook. And we had a great time doing it.
It sounds like kosher barbecue is like a lifestyle for you.
Kosher, it's a lifestyle. It's become a lifestyle. It really has. Um, it kind of got into it by accident years ago before we kept kosher. There was one night I was up and watching one of these television shows on barbecue thinking, oh, this really, all the other shows on the cooking channel and the Discovery Channel and all those, they have these barbecue things. And I was like, that's pretty neat. And for some reason I Googled kosher barbecue. And I found a competition in Long Island, the Long Island Kosher Barbecue. And I said to some friends, hey, this is kind of neat. Let's go do this. And we went out and it was, they provided the pits, they provided the meats, they provided everything. All we had to do was show up. And what we found out was our first year, we did pretty well. And we got bitten by that bug. And I had a smoker at home. So I started doing stuff. And that's how it grew. We did the second year. And then our synagogue in Fairfield, Connecticut said, hey, why don't we have an event here? So we created the Southern New England Kosher Barbecue Championship. We created that. And we did that 2 years in a row. And we had each year over 7,000 people show up for those events in Fairfield, Connecticut. We're going, wait, this is wild. And then my wife and I, we moved the family down to Florida and things happened. And then after COVID, we were going to do it before COVID. And COVID kind of put the stop on the kosher barbecue circuit. And then after COVID started, after it ended, we said, hey, let's get this going down here in Florida. And we're now going to go into our third year with a kosher barbecue competition, the Great American Kosher Barbecue Championship and Jewish Festival here in Lake Worth, Florida. It'll be February 15th. And we had 2,000 people last year, 2,000 people this past year, and we're expecting even more. But people love food and they love coming out for the food. And that's and a festival. It's not just the barbecue. It's not just seeing these 12, 14 teams from all over the country come. We've got crafters, vendors. We're celebrating being Jewish, and that's really what it's all about here in South Florida. And we're bringing in the best of the best to do that.
I love that. And for me, I get to do this show where I get to talk to people who love food. And good in the times we live in right now, it can't be understated how important it is to come together around things of joy.
When you have everything that's been going on, and I want to go back to October 2023. After October 7th, we were set to go to the Atlanta Kosher Barbecue Competition. And we said, how can we go to something like that after October 7th? There was just no feeling of wanting to do that. And it was a rabbi from our synagogue, Rabbi Shiner from Palm Beach Synagogue. And he said to us, he said, you guys need to go do this. We have to do this for the community. We've got to do this for every Jew. We've got to go there. And we were kind of down in the dumps, but we drove from Florida to Atlanta and we went to that competition in Atlanta and and I think people there felt the same way. But they came out and they showed that it's important to be Jewish at this time after something like that happened. And it gave you a sense of being and a sense of community. And why are we there? We're there for a competition, but we're there for the food, but we're there to say, hey, we're not going to let this happen to us. We need to show that we're not going to go in hiding. And that's really what it was all about. And that's why we have our events here in Florida to say, hey, we're here, we're not going anywhere, and we're not going to let anybody scare us. And that's what it's important about. That's what's so important about it as well.
Yes.
I rambled. I don't know if I just made any sense with what I said, but it's important to show that the Jewish community isn't hiding and we're still out there doing what we need to do and celebrating being Jewish.
Absolutely makes complete sense. And I write about joy. I write about food. I do this podcast. Other people can write about the gloom and doom. My role is to elevate people like you who are doing good and sharing Jewish love through food, or just
And
love through food.
just love their food. But when people come to us and they say, "Hey, I had a bad day. Thank you for being here because this food really helped me out. It helped me. It helped me. It showed me that it showed me joy. It made me happy by eating this food." There's something to be said about that. That makes us our team, and it makes me very happy to be sharing that.
So, the other thing
So
you love to share is your tips for making great barbecue. I'm guessing there's not just one thing.
there's not just one thing. I mean, barbecue can be anything. You can go to, you can have a Weber grill, $99 at Home Depot. Everybody's got these in their backyard, or they have a gas grill. You can make phenomenal. You can make hamburgers. You can buy frozen patties and throw them on there and be happy. But it's about adding to that to make a delicious hamburger. And having someone bite into it and go, wow, I haven't had a hamburger like this. It's the skill about all of that that makes people happy. Whether chicken doesn't need to be boring. You can spice the chicken up with various different types of rubs that you can put on a chicken. Um, One of the most amazing things, and people laugh at me all the time when I do this, is turkey breast. They go, turkey breast, that's for Thanksgiving. I said, no, one of the most amazing things you can eat, even in the summertime, is a smoked turkey breast. And it's awesome. So it really depends on how you want to do it, the way you do it, even adding a little salt and pepper and putting that on a hamburger before you throw it on the grill is going to enhance that hamburger so much. Um, and, even for hot dogs, or if you want to get involved and start doing things like bigger things like brisket, or ribs or things like that. All of that is a way to go. But you got to put a little time and a little effort into it, but you're going to have great outcome at the end of the day.
Okay, so you addressed hamburgers, the salt and pepper on 'em, put some flavor into them before they cook. That's gonna make them better. What is your secret for hot dogs? Because I know you love hot dogs.
Hot dogs are great. So it kind of happened a couple of years ago, and some kids were a lot smaller. And what's for dinner? And no, we don't want hot dogs. So I just grabbed some stuff and started mixing something up. And I came up with honey bourbon. We call them crack dogs. And the reason they're called crack dogs is because they are addictive. So I put it together and created these crack dogs. And you take ordinary hot dogs, you slice them on an angle. So when they're cooking, they'll actually open up. Um, it's a mixture of honey, bourbon, tomato paste. You've got some brown sugar, some garlic powder, a little bit of Tabasco. Mix that up all in a bowl. You get a really nice consistency. It's basically 2 cups of honey, 1 cup of bourbon. So that's the base of it, and then as much garlic powder or other things that you want to put in there, and the Tabasco sauce. Leave the hot dogs in there, let them sit, let them get nice and coated, and then you put them on your grill about 300 degrees. And what happens is they open up and then coat them again. And our kids have never they can't get enough of them when we cook them, and we make them for friends and family, and everybody just loves them. It's one of those things that people expect to have whenever they come over to our house.
Oh, that's awesome. Does it have to be bourbon? Do I buy bourbon just to make these hot dogs? It sounds like the answer is yes.
I mean, I'm not a big drinker. We had a bottle of bourbon in the house, and I wanted to add some flavor to it, and I needed something else, and so I took what was left in the bourbon. There was like I don't, and the bourbon bottle could have been there for 20 years, who knows? And I poured, and that's how it created the honey bourbon crack dogs. That's really the whole. It probably would have given it a different flavor. It had been beer or got orange juice, but I had the bourbon there, and I figured why not try it, and it worked, and everybody loves them. And bourbon when cooked there's no alcohol in it, but it gives off such a distinct, amazing flavor, especially mixed in with everything else. It really makes it very special. I've tried it with whiskey, and the bourbon's a little sweeter than the whiskey, so it works out well with the bourbon. And
I
it doesn't
just
need to be expensive bourbon. I mean, if you're pouring Pappy Van Winkle in that, you're doing it wrong. It's the cheap bourbon that you're getting at the liquor store for, a bottle of whatever bourbon for $15. That's the stuff you want to use.
I guess I have to go buy some bourbon. Okay, good to know. Now, what about brisket? What is that the secret to making good brisket on the grill or smoker?
Well, you can do it on a grill as long as you do it indirect. And even a gas grill, if you're cooking indirect, and there are plenty of videos on YouTube on how to do this. The secret behind it, though, is low and slow, patience and time. So, you take it's a packer cut. You want the whole packer cut, not just the flat, not just the point. You want the whole thing because of the way the packer cut is set. If you cut it and you separate the point from the flat, the the flat may dry out. You really need to keep it all attached. And a full packer cut will weigh 14 to 18 pounds. I've seen them even bigger than that. It depends how you want to cook them, or smoke it. Again, this back here, this is a pellet smoker, and it works out quite well. It runs on wood pellets. These are, can't see in the camera, but these are wood pellets, and this is what it burns. Or you can put it on something like this offset, which runs on firewood. And either way you want to do it, you're going to get a great product at the end of the day. The trick is cooking it low and slow, 230, 240 degrees until it's done. And that's going to take you anywhere from 9 to 13, 14 hours, depending on how you do it. And, a lot of people think, oh, it's something I can rush. But, when we do them here, it's cooked overnight. We start at night and they're done the next morning, and then you let them rest for a period of time and then go ahead and eat them. But they do take time. And it's something simple as putting a rub, and a rub can be anything you want it to be. The basic Texas rub that a lot of people use is salt and pepper. It's butcher grind pepper, so it's a thicker pepper. Kosher salt, obviously. And then you can mix in garlic powder. You can mix in other spices as you'd like on there. People do all sorts of different things in there. You're getting a little smoke coming through right now. It's because it's pouring rain here, and there's a lot of steam coming off the smoker right now. As you can see, that's all that smoke is. So let me turn this way so it's not coming over this way. But I also use last year when we were in Israel, I was at the Shuk, and I was working with a couple of guys over there, and we developed a rub that I use on the brisket all the time, and it's amazing. It gives it a little Middle Eastern Israeli flavor to the brisket, which makes it really, really nice. You can do anything you want on there. What matters is at the end of the day how long you've got to cook it till it's done. And brisket is probably one of the easiest things to cook on a smoker, on a grill. As long as you set it up indirectly, you do it right. It's one of the easiest things to cook as long as you have the patience.
And for those of you who are listening to this rather than watching, Warren's setup outside was the little grill, and then the ginormous smoker, and then the big grill. Was that just for show and tell purposes, or do you ever cook things on all three at once?
It's funny. So I have the two smokers. There's what I have, a pellet smoker, which is also a grill, and that's my pretty much everyday use. If we're making hamburgers, hot dogs, steaks, whatever we're making, I can take that up to 600 degrees and I can sear on it. So that's really nice because you turn it on, it burns those wood pellets that I showed you, instead of charcoal or instead of propane, because you're getting a nice wood flavor, which is really, really nice. And then you turn it off and you're done. The big smoker, that's for big things. If I'm doing a brisket, if I'm doing turkey, if I'm doing a prime rib, I'll load that up with the firewood and get that going, and that's a completely different type of thing. You can do briskets on the pellet smoker. I've done some amazing briskets on the pellet smoker. There's nothing wrong with it. for me, I don't mind staying up all night and going and putting part of the fun, putting logs in every 35, 40 minutes. That. Remember when I was talking about the craft? That's the
Yes.
craft. That's that the fire management, all of that, using the different woods to create that flavor because the smoke from the way it's designed, the smoke gets into the meat, creating that nice smoky uh, uh, protein, whatever you're cooking, whether it's prime rib or chicken or whatever. I typically don't light up the big smoker if I'm doing a batch of chicken thighs because they take, an hour and a half, whatever. And I'll put them on the little pellet smoker because they're going to get enough smoke from that, and it's easy to turn it off and go back inside, do what you're going to do. So it really depends on how we're cooking. The other one, the little Weber kettle that I showed you, we use that just for fish. So when my wife says she wants salmon on a plank, I put it on there because that's the fish smoker. Because let's face it, fish. You get that. I don't want that smell in the other smokers, so I put the fish on there.
Very efficient. Okay, so I have a question. If the timing and the low and flow is the thing,
Mhm.
do barbecue competitions last forever? How does that work?
Wow, that's a great question. So let's with the kosher competitions, okay?
Okay.
And they all work the same way. They start at night. So the teams would typically show up in the kosher world. Will show up Saturday night, Motzi Shabbos, and everything's inspected. The pits are lit, and then the teams get going and they start their briskets at night, and they'll go all through the night, and the judging doesn't begin till about 11 in the morning. So 11, you'll have your first category of chicken. And then 12 o'clock, you'll have your second category, and that might be ribs. And then next 1 o'clock, you'll have your rib, your did I say ribs or turkey? Turkey. And then finally, at the end, you'll have your brisket. So you have an hour between each turn in to get everything together. You present it to these judges. These judges are all certified, trained judges. It's a blind taste test. They're trying everything, and that's how the winners are awarded their points. And whether it's non-kosher, kosher, it all works the exact same way. But we the non-kosher events tend to happen Friday night into Saturday, so people can have Sunday off. We don't get that luxury in the kosher barbecue competition world.
So you go and you bring your sauces and your rubs, and the meat may or may not be provided for you when you start at night.
In the general world, everybody can bring what they want and start. In the kosher world, everything has to be all your meats have to be checked by the mashkiach. They have to be make sure they're kosher. All you're making all your rubs and your sauces there because the mashkiach needs to check to make sure every item is in fact kosher. So they're going to go through all your items and make sure everything. So you're making your rubs there, you're making your sauces there, you're doing everything. That adds a little more complexity to the kosher competitions, which is really nice. And we've been in Florida. I really pushed for this. We're the only competition in the United States right now that allows teams to bring their own smokers. In the past, the competitions would provide smokers. Maybe it was a little Weber kettle or something else. So we're allowing teams, as long as they're kosher and the mashkiachs check every one of them out. We have a lot of stringent rules about that, but the teams come in with their own smokers, and we'll provide smokers if teams don't have them. We'll provide Weber Smoky Mountains. They're the tall giant smokers that look like R2D2. That if you've ever seen, that's what they look like. And so we'll provide them for teams that want them, and we'll provide the meats if teams want us to as well. So it it gives everyone a little more freedom, so they're not all having to cook on the same thing. And again, people say that's unfair. Well, you know what? It's not about it's about what you do. It's not about the equipment you use. It really is not about the equipment you use. It's about how you prepare it and how you make it. We had at our competition this past year, Rabbi Zalmi Muscal, Chabad of Wellington, Florida. He had never been to a competition before. He brought a little pellet smoker with him that he had. He won the brisket category. And he beat people that had been competing in barbecue competitions for 20 years. And one of the guys that competed against him had been on one of those TV shows we talked about earlier. And he beat Doug, who is just a grand champion and done many, many things. And here's Zalmi Muscal with his little Traeger pellet smoker that he plugged in, and the judges loved his brisket. So you never know how it's going to work out at the end of the day.
I am completely fascinated by all of this barbecue education. Do you have any final food for thought?
If it looks good, and I'm stealing this line from Andrew Zimmern, if it looks good, eat it. It's fun. Get out there and whether again, it doesn't matter if you're making hamburgers or hot dogs, spice it up a little bit, give it a little zing, give it a little zest. And that's the best way to enjoy. Add something that you never normally would add to it. Try something. One of the most amazing things, and I just thought about this. We took peaches. We took the pits out of the peaches, we put a little brown sugar and a little bit of honey on them, and we put them on the grill. And one of the most amazing things are these grilled peaches. They're absolutely amazing. And add a little smoke to them. It's try things. Just try different things. You never know what you might like, and it's again. That's the whole. It's fun. Have fun when you're doing it. That's what it's all about.
Whether you're cooking or barbecuing or
Cooking,
eating.
cooking, barbecuing, or eating. Just have fun with it. And to see the smile on your friends and family's faces after you've made something like that. And believe me, there've been plenty of mistakes. There've been plenty of things you go, "Ooh, I'll never try that again." But you at least you tried it. That's what it's all about. You've got to try it the first time, and you never know how it's going to turn out. But that's the best part of it.
Well, there is a clear joy emanating from you as you talk about this. Thank you, Warren, for sharing your love of barbecue slash kosher barbecue. Where can people learn more about you?
You can go to our website for the Great American Kosher Barbecue. It's www.gakbbq.org. And that's for the Great American Kosher Barbecue. Again, February 15th, 2026, here in Lake Worth, Florida. We're going into our third year, and we're hoping to have at least. We're hoping you're going to be there. We'd like to make you an honorary judge at our event. Come on out. Come judge the event. We'll make you judged. That'd be awesome to have you out here. But that's where you'll find all the information. And the other thing I would suggest, if you want to learn more about barbecue in general, one of the greatest resources is YouTube. There's so many videos on how to, and there's some great people out there putting out some amazing content. Jeremy Yoder, Mad Scientist Barbecue. I suggest, where do I start? How do I learn? Go watch. He's a good friend of ours. He was at the competition last year. He came out. He actually showed a brand new smoker that's never been seen before. Mad Scientist Barbecue. And he started out as a science teacher, and now this is his full-time job. Anything you want to know about barbecue, Jeremy does it, and he's got videos out there. And you watch his videos, and that's where people can learn from basics, from chicken and hamburgers and hot dogs and the whole art behind it. And so that's where I'd start if I were looking to get into this.
Wow, so many wonderful resources, and I know I am hungry from this conversation. And thank you, Warren, so much. Thank you for tuning in to Taste Buds with Deb. Don't miss an episode. You can subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and or your favorite podcast platform. And if you go to jewishjournal.com/podcast, you can read the article and get the recipes that go with each episode. You're just going to have to go to the link and see what we have hooked up for you from the conversation with Warren. And you can learn more at tastebudswithdeb.com. Go, experiment, have fun, enjoy the barbecue, and bon appetit.